At the dawn of the 21st century, the G7 nations, comprising the world's most advanced economies, stood as the undisputed leaders of global finance and influence. In 2000, these countries accounted for nearly 43% of global GDP, shaping the rules of international trade, security, and diplomacy. Fast forward to 2024, and the landscape has shifted dramatically. The G7's share of global GDP has dropped to under 30%, while the BRICS bloc, once considered a loose coalition of emerging economies, has surged ahead, now commanding a larger share of the world's economic output. This remarkable reversal signals a new era in global affairs. These numbers are more than just statistics. They represent a profound realignment of global power, with new players stepping onto the world stage and old alliances being tested as never before. The world's economic center of gravity is shifting eastward and southward, propelled by the rapid growth of Asia and the global south. The unipolar era that followed the Cold War is giving way to a far more complex and unpredictable global order. Today, we find ourselves in a truly multipolar world. Alliances are more fluid than ever, and so-called middle powers, countries that once played supporting roles, now have greater agency to shape outcomes and forge new partnerships. The old architecture of global governance, built for a different era, is increasingly seen as outdated and unfit for today's challenges. Calls for reform are growing louder as nations seek new frameworks that reflect the realities of a changed world. Against this backdrop of shifting power, several European nations are quietly reaching out to BRICS, a move that would have seemed almost unthinkable just a decade ago when transatlantic ties were considered unbreakable. Europe now stands at a historic crossroads, torn between its deep-rooted transatlantic past and the undeniable pull of rising powers to the east and south. The choices made today will shape the continent's future for generations. The first tentative steps toward BRICS are more than just diplomatic gestures. They signal a deeper search for identity and relevance in a world that no longer plays by the old rules, and where adaptability may be the key to survival. BRICS stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, a coalition of major emerging economies that have come together to reshape the global landscape. These countries, each with their own unique strengths and challenges, represent a significant portion of the world's population and resources. Their collaboration is challenging the Western-led global order, offering a different perspective on how international relations and economic policies should be shaped. Since its first summit in 2009, BRICS has steadily expanded its agenda. What began as a focus on economic cooperation and development has grown to include a wide range of issues. Today, BRICS addresses not only economics, but also security, technology, and culture, aiming to foster deeper ties and mutual understanding among its members. With its 2024 expansion, including Saudi Arabia, Iran, the UAE, Egypt, and Ethiopia, BRICS Plus now represents over 40% of the world's population, making it a truly global force. This expanded group commands a huge share of global GDP, and its economic influence continues to grow as more countries express interest in joining. The new development bank, established by BRICS, offers an alternative to the IMF and World Bank. It finances infrastructure and development projects without imposing the typical Western policy conditions, giving member countries more freedom to pursue their own priorities. BRICS isn't a military alliance or a tightly integrated bloc. Instead, it's a flexible coalition, allowing for diverse viewpoints while seeking a greater collective voice in global affairs. Its diversity is both a strength and a challenge, as members must navigate different interests and priorities to find common ground. But at its core, BRICS is about building alternatives to the old order, shifting influence from west to east and south, and creating new opportunities for cooperation. For countries seeking more autonomy and a greater say in global affairs, BRICS offers a new path, one that's becoming increasingly attractive as the world fragments and new alliances take shape. The idea of a European country joining BRICS once seemed far-fetched, almost unthinkable just a few years ago. The BRICS bloc, originally made up of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, was seen as a counterweight to Western alliances, not a club that Europe would ever consider joining. But now, the conversation has shifted. The possibility is not just being whispered in back rooms. It's openly discussed at high-level meetings and in policy circles. Hungary is leading the way. Prime Minister Viktor Orban's Eastern opening policy has made headlines, and his explicit statements about working with BRICS as a complement to EU ties have raised eyebrows across the continent. Orban sees BRICS not as a replacement for the EU, but as a strategic partner that can help Hungary diversify its alliances and economic opportunities. Serbia, an EU candidate country, has also shown interest. Its leaders emphasize military neutrality and the importance of having friends everywhere, East and West. For Serbia, engaging with BRICS is a way to balance its aspirations for EU membership with a pragmatic approach to global politics. Even in Western Europe, the winds are changing. Think tanks and policymakers are rethinking how to engage with BRICS. And in France, leaked memos have urged the government to pursue a more structured dialogue with the bloc. The old skepticism is giving way to cautious curiosity. These aren't coordinated moves, but they signal a broader shift. Hungary is open and defiant, Serbia is pragmatic and flexible, and core EU states are quietly reassessing their positions, watching these developments with a mix of concern and intrigue. The magnetic pull of BRICS's economic engine is becoming harder to ignore. As BRICS expands its influence and offers new trade and investment opportunities, even traditional Western allies are tempted to look eastward for growth and stability. This isn't a stampede, but a series of calculated, deliberate steps. Each country is weighing its options, testing the waters, and moving at its own pace. Each country's motivation is different. Some seek economic gain, others political leverage. But together, these moves reveal cracks in Europe's once unified foreign policy. The old certainties that defined Europe's place in the world are fading. New opportunities and new risks are drawing Europe toward a more multipolar future, where alliances are fluid and the rules are being rewritten. The question is no longer if Europe will engage with BRICS, but how far it is willing to go, and what that journey will mean for the continent's identity and influence on the global stage. Economic survival is driving Europe's curiosity about BRICS. Trade wars, the Ukraine conflict, and sanctions have exposed Europe's vulnerability to global shocks. For countries like Hungary and Serbia, BRICS Plus offers access to fast-growing markets and investment, especially from China. The new development bank provides loans with fewer strings, and the contingent reserve arrangement offers a financial safety net. De-dollarization is also on the table as countries seek to reduce reliance on the US dollar and hedge against future sanctions. No one's abandoning the euro, but settling trade in other currencies is a powerful incentive. For Europe, diversifying partners is now a necessity, not a choice. Beyond economics, Europe's interest in BRICS is about political independence. The Trump presidency and the chaotic Afghanistan withdrawal showed that US reliability can't be taken for granted. Leaders like Orban see BRICS as a club that respects sovereignty, unlike the EU, which often criticizes Hungary's domestic policies. Even mainstream European nations now see value in engaging with BRICS to ensure their interests aren't sidelined in a new world order. As China and Russia grow closer, Europe fears being squeezed between superpowers. By building ties with India, Brazil, and South Africa, Europe hopes to balance the scales. This is classic hedging: diversify partnerships, reduce dependence, and gain room to maneuver. It's not about abandoning the West, but about building a more flexible, resilient foreign policy. In a multipolar world, strategic autonomy is Europe's new watchword. Europe's path toward BRICS is marked by concrete milestones. At the 2024 BRICS Summit in Kazan, Hungary and Serbia sent high-level delegations and signed deals with the new development bank. Serbia announced plans to seek dialogue partner status, formalizing its long flirtation with the bloc. Hungary secured a major Chinese-backed investment in solar panel manufacturing, with NDB-linked financing, blurring the lines between EU and BRICS. These moves build credibility with BRICS powers and signal seriousness to Brussels and Washington. Years of groundwork, blocking EU criticism of China, refusing sanctions on Russia, are paying off. Each summit, statement, and deal lays another stone on Europe's new path. Washington views Europe's BRICS overtures with alarm, seeing a threat to NATO and the transatlantic alliance. Security concerns loom large. Deeper ties with China and Russia raise fears of intelligence leaks and weakened cohesion. Economically, BRICS's push for de-dollarization and alternative finance threatens U.S. influence. The U.S. is responding with both engagement and pressure, offering investment, but warning of consequences for drifting too close to rivals. Congressional voices have even suggested reviewing security cooperation with countries leaning toward BRICS. This delicate balancing act shows America's struggle to adapt as allies hedge their bets. The old order is under strain, and the U.S. is fighting to keep its allies close. The outcome is far from certain. Brussels is frustrated and divided by members' BRICS flirtations. Hungary's veto power has blocked unified EU stances, exposing deep rifts. The EU is trying to compete with BRICS by boosting its own investment programs, but cohesion is slipping. For China and Russia, European interest in BRICS is a geopolitical win, proof that Western unity is fracturing. India and Brazil, however, are cautious. They want BRICS to be multipolar, not just anti-Western. Welcoming European partners could moderate the bloc and broaden its appeal. The internal debate within BRICS reflects its members' diverse interests. The future shape of the bloc, and Europe's role in it, remains uncertain. The world is entering a new era of realignment, and Europe is being pulled into the orbit of rising powers. Hungary and Serbia are leading the way, driven by economic pragmatism and a desire for autonomy. Their actions, summits, deals, and open advocacy mark milestones in this shift. The US is alarmed, the EU is divided, and BRICS is emboldened, but cautious. The old alliances are no longer absolute. The lines are being redrawn. As nations build overlapping coalitions, will this lead to stability or chaos? The choices made in Europe's capitals in the coming years may decide the answer.